So how many of you that are here play pickleball? Yay, good. How many of you love it? It's become an addiction. That's what I hear anyways, that it becomes an addiction. So today the presentation is called Staying Active with Pickleball. Pickleball is a great way to stay active, social, and healthy. But like any activity, it can sometimes lead to aches, stiffness, or overuse injuries. This presentation will cover common injury patterns seen with pickleball, why they happen, and practical movements and recovery strategies. And the presentation today will be given by Dr. Rachael Roberts from Impact Chiropractic and also Dr. Bryce Kremer. On that note, let's welcome both of them. Yeah.
Hi guys, thanks for coming. I'm Dr. Bryce and this is Dr. Rachael. We're with Impact Chiropractic and Performance. So thank you for coming out today. So we just have a little introductory slide. I'm from Cherokee, Iowa, so this is my first time moving to Madison. We just moved here in February, just graduated from Palmer. I ran collegiately at my undergraduate, and then I played rugby collegiately at our chiropractic school. Big fan of pickleball. We did a lot of it when we were at Palmer, and we just like staying active.
I am Dr. Rachael. I grew up in this area. So I'm from Cross Plains, and then I went to Middleton High School and went to UW Milwaukee after that. And then, like Bryce said, we both went to Palmer College of Chiropractic to get our chiropractic degree, and we both played rugby there. And that's kind of how we met. And yeah, then we realized we kind of had the same kind of philosophy around chiropractic, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, so like Rachel was saying, our philosophy, it's definitely a little bit different than most chiropractors. Our mission at Impact is just to help people stay independent and resilient through every stage of life. We're big on assessing and treating movement, not just pain, so people can move better and move confident with what they're doing. We just believe that everything for best care starts with actually listening to the person and the story, and not just what is going on right now. We like to make sure that people feel heard. It's just a huge part into what we actually can do for starting to make a plan for the person and individualize it for them.
So some of the specific services that we offer that's just in every appointment or just kind of based on what the person needs. We usually start out with something like a functional movement assessment, just to kind of screen how you're moving, where you're moving well, where there might be areas to improve. And then we also do some kind of soft tissue modalities, such as like dry needling, which is very similar to acupuncture. And then, of course, we do chiropractic care as well, but then we're always kind of following it up with that strength and rehab side of things to help kind of reinforce and implement what that kind of soft tissue therapy was for. So then we kind of use some cupping, pin and stretch, some kind of manual techniques as well.
So obviously you guys know why we're here today. We're not here to teach you guys how to play pickleball. I'm not very good at pickleball. I like to play it, but we're here because we want to make sure that you can play pickleball for as long as possible. We want you guys to feel confident when you're playing, and just reduce the chance of injuries. We want to send you guys home with some tips, educating you on why these things happen and how you can make them less likely.
So just starting with some questions, we kind of went over it at the beginning, but how many of you play pickleball at least like once a week? Okay, so a couple of you. Has anybody stopped playing because of any aches, pains, or discomforts? Not so far. Good. That's good to hear. So we can kind of go into why do injuries happen, which honestly is a loaded question because usually it is not just one specific thing. There's many factors that can go into it, such as like sleep, recovery, diet, tissue tolerance, fear of movement, negative perception, things like that. And usually it's not just one thing. But today we're going to kind of dive into more of like the tissue tolerance or demand or capacity. So I think a lot of people, when we get older, it's just like, oh, should I do this certain exercise? Is this right for me? I think the answer usually isn't just because you're getting older. I think injuries happen when the demand, what the task requires, is higher than what your body can handle, aka the capacity. So when the demand exceeds the capacity, that's when our aches and pains usually come, tissue tolerance decreases, and that's when our tissues can just become irritable in general.
So with this, being able to kind of relate it back to the demand versus capacity, there are two things that are very important that you can do to kind of build that capacity or build what your body can handle. Is moving more and moving often. A lot of people, they get very just sedentary, and that's a lot of the times what causes you to usually not have that ability to move as well. We like to say motion is lotion. It's just what keeps you going. The next thing would be get stronger. So building your glass, we like to compare capacity to if you had a cup or just a cup. The demand is what you're going to fill inside that cup. If what you need for an activity is too much, so let's say you're overflowing your glass, then that's where we can lead to problems. That's where you have the spillage, or kind of we compare that to the aches and pains. What we want to do is we want to turn that little glass that we have into an even bigger glass, and keep building that glass even bigger to where that demand or that water can fill even higher, and you can match what that activity needs.
So I think the first thing we have to cover is just our physical activity guidelines and what they recommend. I think often we get kind of too specific in like what is specifically causing that ache or pain, but before we address the specifics, we need to have a baseline of just like functional movement and functional strength and aerobic capacity before we can dive into the bigger picture. So what the physical activity guidelines say are 150 minutes a week of moderate activity or 75 minutes of vigorous activity. So with your pickleball, if you're playing kind of multiple times a week or going for more like higher intensity walks, like a brisk walk, you're probably hitting kind of that 150 minutes. If you're doing about 5 days a week, 30 minutes. I think most of us are pretty good at hitting that, but I think what we're missing is this strength training kind of 2 times a week. So like Bryce said, this is really where we kind of like build that glass. So when we talk about like aerobic or like endurance runners, things like that, the strength piece is super important to supplement along with kind of our moderate like aerobic activity.
So here's where we're kind of going more into the demands of pickleball and what your body needs to be able to handle. So your body needs to be able to obviously move quick to start and stop. You need to be able to laterally shuffle, change direction. You need to be able to squat, because if the balls hit right in front of you, you got to be able to get down low. You got to reach and rotate, be able to actually bounce through one leg, be able to repeatedly swing, and have endurance to play multiple games. So we got to make sure that our body can handle that. Here's where we talk about what the capacity is. So we're going to kind of describe what each one means and where we can kind of get lost in it. When we talk about the strength, it's not about how much strength you can actually push. It's more of, can your muscles support the joints around it? For balance, can you stay stable while being able to reach in certain directions? Your mobility, it's not just about how far you can stretch, but can you get through the ranges that the pickleball requires? Endurance, can you play without excessive fatigue? Power and reaction, can you move quickly to the ball? And then recovery, are you giving your body enough time to recover? So yeah, the higher the capacity, the lower your risk of injury, and the more longer you can play with confidence.
So, some common pickleball injuries that we see are knee pain, shoulder pain, tennis elbow, or golfer's elbow. That just depends on whether it's on the inside or the outside of the elbow. Achilles tendinopathy, which is kind of by the heel. And then plantar fasciitis, which is more on the bottom of the foot. Low back pain, muscle strains of the calf, hamstring, kind of the inside of the thigh, and just ankle sprains. So we can start to go into what can we do about it. So, like we talked about that kind of baseline of the physical activity guidelines, make sure your hip boost strength and aerobic goals, but now we can kind of go into more specifics. Like we talked about kind of the demands of pickleball, one of them is balance. So we can start to go over a few drills of those. So I can kind of take Bryce through balance and then he'll take me through lower body strength. But so with balance, we're talking about, right, kind of standing on one leg or standing on two legs, being able to stay stable and not sway a ton. So the Y balance drill is you start with 2 feet together, and you guys can kind of stand up and do this and try them out if you would like. I would always kind of have, especially while we are doing balance, I would have like chair or table, something kind of next to you just in case you kind of sway side to side. So what we're going to do is we're going to stand on one leg first. The first one is going to go out in front of us, and I'm almost just going to heel tap. So that's the first part. And then I'm going to reach diagonally, kind of out to the side here. That's part of the Y. And then the next one is just going to be a little bit behind us. We're going to have to sit back into it and just a tap that way. So then we just start to repeat it. So again, in front, to the side, and then we go almost kind of like a curtsy to the other side. So just a way we can kind of modify this is you can take just a shorter step if you need, just kind of getting comfortable. And then also a progression of it would just be start to reach out further. Just starting to reach kind of as far as you can, really trying to challenge that balance. So similar to the Y balance drill, you can also do, it's called a single leg RDL with a reach. So essentially you're just going to go onto one leg here. And then Bryce is going to start to hinge and keep his leg straight and then almost try to touch a target. So I can start to kind of move this target around. So you can kind of partner up here and then go there. If that's too challenging, we can keep the back leg kind of fixed on the ground first. And then you can start to reach and hinge this way. Good, just kind of moving it around. And so more challenging, I could bring that target away. Kind of less challenging, I could bring it closer so he doesn't have to reach as far.
Yeah, so those are very good ones. Honestly, I usually have people start off with them even if they don't have balance troubles. It's just a very good area to get people started. A lot of people don't focus on it because many people think that their balance is okay. But honestly, a lot of people, it's just such a great area to just always work on. The next thing that we're going to work on is lower body strength. So we're going to show you some progressions. We're going to start off with a chair squat. Very easy to do. It's our start off progression for a lot of athletes. So what we're going to do is you're going to stand up right in front of the chair, and you're going to try sitting your butt back towards towards the back of the chair, slowly, so you can control through that entire range of motion. And then you're going to stand back up. If you need to make this easier, if you can't hit that range of motion, what I'll do is if you have any like throw pillows or towels, I'll stack them on top of each other so you don't have to go as far down. And then once you feel like that's easy enough, you can start removing some pillows to get it to a deeper range. And then once you feel comfortable with not needing the chair, you can go into a body weight squat, I would start with obviously that quarter range, then you go into kind of that half range, full range, just to where you're controlling the movement and not needing something to sit on. The next one, we're going to go into our lunges. Very similar to what we're doing with that single leg deadlift and kind of the Y drill, except this one, it's more for just being able to get into that deep range of motion. If I was having to reach through here and hit the pickleball, it's getting strong in those deeper ranges of motions. So we call this one, it's the tri lunges. So I would have Rachel, she's going to step forward.
You can always kind of use something like a chair or anything as you get comfortable with the motion, but then we want to eventually kind of progress out of that because we're not always going to have something to hang on to.
Yep.
So
the first one, I'm going to have Rachel step her outside foot forward, and she's going to lunge forward. Go down as far as you can go. If you only can get a certain amount, go back up from there, and then progress into working into that deeper range. Good. So then the next one, I'm going to have Rachel step that outside foot just straight out to the side. She's going to try pushing that butt back and getting that knee right over her toes. So go into a comfortable range that you can go. The big part is keeping that butt back to keep your body over that center of mass. So that's good. A lot of times you could do, if it's more comfortable for you, just to where you're not getting out of balance too much, you can start right there and lean into the chair. Because when you lean away, the chair kind of gets too far away from you. Start right there, lean into the chair, and use the chair to push yourself back up. The next one is what we call that, or we'll do reverse lunge and then we'll go into curtsy. So reverse lunge, we're going to take the outside foot from the chair and you're going to go backwards and drop down into that lunge as far as you can go. Good. You can use the chair to push yourself back up. Just go to a comfortable range because obviously, like we talked about earlier with demand versus capacity, if we haven't done these in a while, your cup might not be too big. We don't want to push it too much. The next one that we're going to go into is that curtsy lunge. So I'm going to have Rachel take that. Yep, we're going to have Rachel face the chair. She's going to take this right foot. She's going to bring it back and across. She's going to kind of just go as far down as she can. Good. Yep, and then back up. So she's going to repeat that multiple times, and then obviously you do the same thing for the other leg.
I think what's kind of great about that one is, of course, with the squat, it's a double leg movement. But when we focus more on the lunge, we're actually kind of isolating just one leg at a time. So we can start to work on like side to side, muscle imbalances, and strength that way. And then just the different types of lunges, you can probably feel it, places stress on kind of different parts of your body as well. So we're just kind of hitting all those tissues and varying your movement and strength and being strong in all of those different positions. So when pickleball puts you kind of in that vulnerable position, your body is ready to handle those demands. So now we can go into shoulder or elbow and wrist. So the first one is called a shoulder carve, which it's pretty much just a shoulder circle, but it has a little bit kind of more rotation through it. So we're going to start at Bryce. We're going to have both hands on the side. We're just going to do one at a time here. So this is kind of working on how far we can get into those ranges. So I'm going to have him kind of palm at the side first. Then as he kind of reaches up, I want him to go across his body. Good. And then as he's starting to reach up, we're going to start to turn that palm to the outside of our body. And then keep reaching, turning, turning, turning. Now we're pushing that arm behind us as much as we can. And then we're gonna end with the back of the hand by the thigh. So, kind of just some things I saw right away is some of you guys like to turn your body. We really wanna isolate the shoulder here, so I wanna keep us kind of chest facing forward.
And if that means you have to like not go as deep into the range of motion, that's perfectly fine. This is just a way to kind of get your joints or your shoulder joint comfortable with reaching through every range of motion.
Mm-hmm. Also with this one, I kind of want to keep like the shoulder out of the ear. Sometimes when we reach up, we kind of like to shrug that shoulder blade and bring it up to the ear. Kind of keep that away. So we're gonna try it one more time. So we're gonna have Bryce go through it. So palm up, thumb up here, across the body. Good. And as I come up, I'm starting to turn that hand away. Keep that shoulder out of the ear. Good. Nice, guys. Then we're gonna turn, keep the back of the hand right nice and tight to the side. Good. So some of the parts of the movement might feel a little sticky or uncomfortable. I just want you to kind of focus in on that range, really kind of feel what's going on. Try to just be like comfortable with that range. Everybody's just gonna have parts of that movement that just feel a little bit different or a little bit more sticky or uncomfortable. But the more we do it, just kind of we talk about kind of motion is lotion, our body will get used to that mobility and it should become less achy or kind of less discomfort in that area. So the next one is a farmer suitcase carry. So usually this is done with, you can do it with a dumbbell, a kettlebell. Honestly, I've told people to grab a gallon of milk and do it. Just kind of anything that's a little bit like weighted in your hand. So a farmer carry is gonna be, you have weights in both hands. So here we're working on kind of, just face this way. We're working on kind of keeping those shoulders back and engaged. You might feel a little bit of tension here. I'm just kind of staying very upright. Then we'll work shoulders, but then also grip is super important. Our grip kind of attaches onto these elbow regions, kind of on the outside of the elbow and the inside of the elbow. So when we talk about like tendinopathies or golfers or tennis elbow, that kind of stuff, this stuff is really important for it. And all of that crosses the wrist too. So just starting with one hand and then walking forward, kind of slow and controlled. The weights will kind of try to tip him side to side. So also kind of a balance move here, just trying to stay as upright as we can, kind of core engaged and walking nice, slow, and controlled. So farmer carry, like I said, is kind of weights in both hands. A suitcase carry would just be the weight in one hand. So you might feel a little bit more core engagement on the opposite side because it's kind of trying to yank you down a little bit. So I think that one is just, in general, a good one for balance, shoulder, elbow, wrist, just a good one in general for those activities. And then,
So the next one is going to be more for rotation and a little bit of opening of like the mid back. I know a lot of people sit down when we read, when we look at our phone, we get a lot of kind of roundedness right here. I want to be able to open that up. In pickleball, if you can rotate, you need a little bit of extension. And so when we're rounded here, it makes it a lot harder to be able to move my shoulder. So we want to be able to open that up. So we can do this two different ways. I'll have Rachel show you with a chair first. It's super easy. What I'm going to have her do is you can either put her hands right here or her elbows, and I'm going to have her step back to where her arms are kind of out in front of her. And what she's going to do is she's going to try dropping her chest through her arms right here. Yep. So you're really going to focus on keeping your arms out straight. You might feel a little bit of a stretch right under like the muscle under your armpit. It's going to be really good for stretching this out right here and allowing you to extend through there. Good. I'm seeing a lot of good movement here. It's definitely a hard movement when you don't work on it, but if you start working on that a ton, I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference. So that's kind of like, we call that the passive way of doing it. It's a big stretch. So the active way of doing it is I'm going to have Rachel up next to the wall, and she's going to, I'm going to have you do extensions first. So I'm going to have her go arms out in front of the wall, just so you don't have to like kind of lean over as much, put maybe a little bit less stress on your back, and have her drop her elbows through that way. Two different ways that you can do it. Whatever one's more comfortable for you. If you can just lean out in front, and honestly, I think that's the way I prefer it, so I don't have to lean over a chair. The next one that we're going to be doing is for rotation. So you're going to be up next to the wall, and we're going to have the outside foot forward, and the other one is the hip is going to be right up next to the wall. So you're going to bring your arms out in front of you, and we're going to drag this arm kind of across the body and try straightening it out as much as possible. You can do it just standing. It's like a yoga pose. The reason we like doing it up against the wall is because it blocks that hip and allows you to turn all the way through that upper back. So when Rachel does it, then she kind of reverses it the same way, brings it back, and then brings it across. Yep. So it's almost, you're in that similar position to that lunge, and you're going to bring it across and back. So yeah, it's a very good rotational stretch, opens up a ton. I like it a lot for, I think a lot of times like my chest gets tight, so it's a really good opener that way too.
I think we often talk a lot about like mid-back mobility, also with like shoulder health. So if you think about, if I can't extend very well, it's also going to limit my shoulder movement. Think if I'm kind of rounded through my mid-back, I can't get my arm up very far. But once I kind of stand up straight and I'm able to kind of extend through that mid-back, that motion is much freer now than it was before. So now we can go into kind of foot ankles. So now we're looking at kind of like plantar fasciitis stuff, Achilles, ankle sprains, all of this stuff is kind of great for it. So when we talk about like plantar fasciitis or Achilles, we have kind of the calf muscles in the back, which attach to those tendons, which kind of drag along the bottom of the foot too. So calf strength is super important here. So we can start off with calf raises. So we'll go over kind of some modifications, some progressions here. Yeah. So usually I kind of have something to hold, because in this one I'm not really like focusing on balance too much. I really just want to increase the strength of that calf. So we're gonna start a little bit, you can lean into the chair a little bit, but what we're gonna do is I want you to lift your heels off the ground and go up as high as you can go, and then reach back down and let your heels drop all the way down to the floor and then back up. And you'll definitely start to feel kind of your calves working here. Some ways we can make it a little bit more challenging is, again, just control, or we can go to a single leg. So now Bryce took his right foot off the ground. You can kind of let it float, or you can wrap it around your downside ankle. We can start with just an isometric. So just lifting that heel just a bit off the ground and just hold. If you're not able to tolerate kind of that up and down movement, this is a great way to start to introduce this movement without the aggravation of going through the range of motion. So you can kind of start with just holds, and then we can start to move it to up and down. Another good one is also going up on one foot, up on 2 foot, up on 2 foot, and then take 1 foot away, and then kind of release back down. So that's a good progression from kind of that double leg into that single leg version. So kind of with all of these, it's just trying to find stuff, a good entry point. We don't want to avoid activity, but we want to be able to find a good way to progress ourselves more and more and more without going into kind of a pain cycle or a flare-up cycle. So it's all about kind of that regression and progression and how can we modify activities eventually to get us to our goal. So we have calf raises. Once we've kind of built that strength and capacity, it's important with pickleball because we're kind of running around, we're going side to side, that our tendons and our muscles are ready to kind of fire quickly and fast. So what we can do is we can start to just kind of jump in place. So just really small jumps. So just kind of quick. Just trying to get off the ground kind of as quick as you can. Not really worrying about like height here. Good. So just kind of as quick as you can.
So this is a good one for balance and agility because a lot of the times when you're jumping, you gotta feel how your foot reacts to the ground. So this is a huge one for being able to get your muscles activated, especially before pickleball. We like to talk about warming up a lot, and instead of just stretching, activating the muscles so that they're ready. This is such a great one. Being able to have a chair in front of you or have a wall to where you can get your balance right away, and then being able to move away from it and being able to progress this. The huge thing with all of these that we've kind of been talking about is being able to have them at a lighter stage to where you're first introducing yourself to them and then progressing them into a little bit harder ones. So some progressions that we have for these, I was going with the chair right away to balance. Next, I would have Rachel just go 2-foot hops, just out in front, and then I could have her go 2-foot hops, but going back and forth. So instead of standing in place and jumping, she's going forward and backwards. I could also have her go side to side. So she's hopping left and right. And then progress into same way when we did the calf raises. She'll just hop in place with 1 foot, and the same progressions. You can go forward, backwards, side, side. Some different challenges that we'll do is there's different patterns and stuff you can do, but I would just worry about for pickleball and warming up, just getting that activation, getting your body ready for that impact.
So just kind of summarizing all the information that we've gone over. So like we just talked about, warm up before you play. Specifically kind of those tissues that you are using and putting a lot of stress on during pickleball. Really making sure we're kind of strengthening those and also just getting them to kind of move better, perform better, things like that. Will not only they'll just help you prime for the activity better than just kind of going in cold right off out of your car. So strength training at least twice a week. So like we talked about kind of that pickleball, you get a lot of that aerobic, moderate intensity activity, but just making sure we're also doing that strength piece to help only just supplement your game.
So keeping your hips, shoulders, and ankles moving well. Obviously, these are some key places that a lot of people have problems because these are very mobile areas. And so many people, they like to think that they're strengthening their hips, shoulders, ankles very well, but we have to be able to strengthen them, but strengthen them in full range of motion. That's why we were doing different stuff with our shoulders, being able to go through that range of motion, or even just introducing the different planes, because if we can control movements through every single range of motion, when you're getting out on the pickleball, when that range of motion happens, your body's not going to be surprised by it. Building your capacity gradually, like we were talking about with progressions. Yes, we want you guys to be able to go and do the heaviest progression or the craziest progression of all of these exercises, but right away, we just want you guys to start off with introducing these movements so that you're able to handle the demand of the sport of pickleball. And don't ignore the aches that are getting worse or aren't improving. We like to talk about kind of the safety of how aches and pains are going. And once an ache or pain shows up, if it kind of goes away within that 24 to 48 hours, completely fine. Or if you can do stuff to make it feel better, that's completely fine. Once it starts to become like a problem, like for like 72 hours and just keeps becoming a problem, you can't really do anything to make it feel better, that's when it's more of a problem that you probably need to address with some help. So, does anybody have any questions for us? Nope. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out. Yeah, if you have any questions, we'll be up here, and thank you.
Thank you.